from that. And Rosemary Katchmar is on a business trip. But we now do have a quorum for the commission. Would like to look at the agenda. The item that we're on now is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Okay. The minutes from our last meeting were transmitted to you by email along with the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes shall stand approved by common consent. I'm very pleased this evening to welcome a new member of the commission, Joshua Hatch. And I've been working with Joshua over the last several weeks, a number of different things. But I'd like to give Joshua an opportunity to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself, and then we'll go around and we'll ask each of the commissioners who are on the call tonight to do the same. So Joshua, please share a little about yourself.
Thank you, and thank you for having me join the commission. I'm Joshua Hatch. I've been in Annapolis since the age of about 19 years old. My father was in the military, and Fort Meade was his last duty station. So that's how I moved to Maryland. Since then, I had a troubling past. Found myself in prison and was in prison for 10 years. And while I was there, I had an opportunity to receive some education, rehabilitation, and constructed a plan for my life by the grace of God. Came home and I started an organization called Freedom Fighters. And Freedom Fighters, what Freedom Fighters does is it works with returning citizens. I noticed while I was incarcerated that there was a gap in services, that most people who were incarcerated for long periods of time, they had a hard time with reintegrating back into society. And as a result of it, the recidivism rate was extremely high. And I wanted to help solve that problem and provide services. So I've been working closely with a lot of key organizations in and out of the county and the city, and have been able to provide services for those individuals. Since then, I've joined the Caucus of African American Leaders and became the public safety chair, where I work closely with a group of individuals to address common problems within the different jurisdictions of Maryland, and have been very successful at doing so. So it's my hope with joining the Human Relations Commission that I will be able to add to the commission, to be able to help the commission move forward and to address issues in the city of Annapolis that need to be addressed by the Human Relations Commission. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Keller. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I'm just going to, one of the easy things about Zoom is I can just look at the top of the screen here and just go through folks and ask them to talk. I'm going to start with Helen Leach, who is the longest serving member of the commission, with her service dating all the way back to Al Hopkins' administration, chair of the complaints committee. So Helen, you'd like to say some things?
So Joshua, we met at our complaints committee. So I don't think I have to reiterate everything. I think Mike just told you. Anyway, I'm happy to have you on the complaints committee. Thank you.
Okay, right. Chuck Hurley.
Welcome, Joshua. I'm an old Quaker, lived in Annapolis for 12 years now, I guess. I lived in DC for 40 years, I guess, before coming over here. And like each of us, I think I'm pleased by some of the progress we're making, but disturbed by some of the progress we're not making. And applaud your work, by the way, in the returning citizens issue, because that's an area that needs our help as well. I'm disappointed you didn't come to the outreach committee and that Helen got you on the complaints committee.
Now.
I hope you will participate in the outreach activities as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Jay.
Hello, everyone. My apologies as I'm driving, and so I don't have my video on. But I've been in Annapolis for about maybe 9 years. I'm a local attorney, and I have a trial that I have tomorrow. So I'm doing some late prep for a trial. But let me see. I'm parking here. But welcome. I'd like to welcome Josh. I've seen the emails that you sent in introducing yourself to the committee, and we'll look forward to working with you not only on the complaints committee, but also the numerous different organizations and things that we're involved with on the Human Relations Commission.
Okay, thank you, Jay. I'm going to call next on Claudia Barber, who is the liaison from the City of Annapolis to the Human Relations Commission. Claudia?
Good evening, everyone. I have a very limited report, and that is that we did receive one complaint, which we passed on to the commission from an individual that I believe had an incident in a barbershop that is in Annapolis. But beyond that, there has not been any more activity that I can recall. So that would conclude my report.
Yeah, but could you share a little bit about yourself?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been with the City of Annapolis since November 2018. I was hired as the Recruiter Employee Relations Administrator, which also serves as the staff liaison for the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. In my job duties, I serve as the EEO officer for the city, and I investigate EEO grievances for the city. I also oversee the police and fire promotion and entry-level examinations, the written examinations in particular, and the oral and written for the promotional exams. But I'm happy to be here and welcome Joshua. I know you through other organizations, and I know you're going to do an outstanding job here.
Thank you, Claudia. We have a new representative from the Maryland Commission on Human Rights who's joined us this evening, and I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and say a few words about herself.
Good evening, everyone. So sorry, we're actually the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and I'm here on our behalf. I am relatively new. I started in May, and I'm an education and outreach associate with us. And I don't know, for those of you who don't know, we are responsible for enforcing Maryland's anti-discrimination laws. So we do wonderful work. We investigate free of charge. So we want to make sure people know we exist. So I can put our website in the chat if anyone needs that, or send it to you if you guys don't have that. And yeah, I can pass on to the next person.
Thank you very much. How do you pronounce your first name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have led with that. My name's Ngary.
Ngary. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Is it Ngary or just
Ngary?
Ngary.
Yeah.
Ngary.
Okay. All right. All right. Also, I saw earlier on the call was Carrie Berger, who is the representative from the Office of Law to the Commission. Carrie, are you still on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry I don't have my camera on. I had dental work this afternoon, and I don't think any of you guys want to see that, so I have my camera off. But good afternoon, or good evening, actually, and welcome, Joshua. My name is Carrie Berger. I am an assistant city attorney. I've been working with the Office of Law. It'll be year number 9 in December, so I'm coming up on my 9th year. I represent the city in litigation, and I advise some of the departments within the city, one of which being HR. So that's how I became counsel to the Human Relations Commission and provide legal advice if called upon.
Thank you very, very much, Carrie. We're going to be moving on now to the chair's report, and I do have several things to share with the commission tonight. One is one of those good news and bad news stories. The good news is that one of our commissioners, Jeremy Browning, has a new job. He's the administrative director of the Maryland Commission on LGBTQ Affairs in the Governor's Office of Community Initiatives. The bad news is that he was advised by the Office of Ethics to step down from all other boards and commissions to avoid any real or perceived conflicts of interest. And having worked for the state for 26 years, there's one organization you do not want to have a problem with, and that's the Ethics Commission. So we will be losing Jeremy, but hopefully we'll be getting some additional commissioners again soon. But he sent me a very, very, very nice letter saying how much he enjoyed being on the commission and had just really nice applauding things to say about our work. I would also like to thank Josie Mulvey, who is representing the City of Annapolis Television tonight and handling all of the logistical things that have to be done with the technology related to Zoom. And so thank you so much, Josie, for doing this. And then finally, just to follow up on a piece of business that we engaged in earlier this year, and that was to consideration of whether to seek passage in Annapolis of a version of the racial equity bill that was adopted in Montgomery County. And I did send some notes out to the commission on this, but I wanted to remind everyone exactly what has transpired with that. The outreach committee met, and the outreach committee basically decided that what we had discussed at the meeting was fine, that we would they would ask the chair to send an email message to the mayor and all members of the city council, basically inquiring how much interest there would be in undertaking that effort. I received immediate reply from Alderwoman Rhonda Pindell Charles, who said that she is working with the Office of Law on that very issue. Carrie, are you familiar with that at all?
So it sounds familiar, but I don't know if it sounds familiar from you guys or if it sounds familiar from my office. But what I can do is I can look into it tomorrow, see if legislation is being worked on or if it's up for introduction and get back to you. I just don't want to say anything right now and have it be wrong.
Well, yeah, and then there was a second email that immediately came, and that email came from Alderman Dewan Gay. And he writes, "This sounds like a fantastic idea, an opportunity to promote equity and inclusion as we create policy for the city of Annapolis. I've read Alderman Pindell Charles' email. I'm not familiar with the Office of Law's work on this issue. However, I'll follow up with both her and the Office of Law." So I think what I shared with the commission at the time, and my position hasn't changed on it, is that the one thing we don't want to do is to duplicate any efforts which a member of city council has engaged in with the Office of Law. But what I did respond to Alderwoman Pindell Charles and Alderman Gay, as well as to the mayor and all the other members of city council, I said that the commission stands ready to work with her, Alderman Gay, and all other interested parties in establishing a racial equity program in the city of Annapolis. Okay, I haven't heard anything since then, but just to let you know where that stands, Any questions about that?
Mike, could I just add briefly, you and I have talked about this a couple of times. I had a pretty extensive, almost 2-hour meeting with, we were standing on downtown in Annapolis with Alderwoman Pendle Charles. And she's an extraordinary person, as we all know. And I had heard about what they're doing in Montgomery County. We talked about that. And yes, I agree. We don't want to do anything in conflict, but in a nutshell, it would be to try to assess the racial impact of things before they happen. For example, I mean, you know, the issue of the construction of the county office building by essentially taking away a major neighborhood in town and not really properly assessing the impact that would have. But I think I really am delighted that things seem to be percolating on that in the city council, and we ought to do anything we can to support it.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Chuck.
Mr.
The
Jones,
first, yes.
I do have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So when discussing things dealing with racial equity, is it a policy or normal practice for city council to involve the Human Relations Commission in that, or is this something that you find out much later? Because I would think that there would be ongoing communication between the commission and city council as well, or its representative, whoever may be actually working on drafting such a bill, that they also advise and inform and involve the Human Relations Commission. Is that not happening? And if not, why?
The answer to the question is in a single word: sometimes. Sometimes they will ring our bell, and other times they just go ahead and do what they do. I'm always mindful as to who are the bureaucrats and who represent the people, and that people in the latter category are the mayor and the members of city council. So we're always ready to respond positively and provide assistance, or to pretty much do reports that they ask for. But there are times in which members of council will introduce legislation related to human relations, and they don't necessarily touch base with us. At the same time, there's always been a receptivity to the commission testifying at hearings, public information hearings, public hearings on bills, as well as coming before respective standing committees of the city council and offering our views. So, but the extent to which we're involved simply depends very much on who the sponsoring members of city council are, the involvement of the mayor, and other things. I would say that a majority of the time that our views are sought out, but I would be exaggerating if I said it occurs in all occasions. I hope that answers your question, Joshua.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mike, I think he said it well, but I should point out that Alderwoman Pendle Charles indicated very clearly if this would move forward, the racial equity, essentially an ordinance, I guess, that she would look forward to referring things for outreach and consideration and recommendations to the commission. I mean, I think she, in this particular instance, is very clearly foreseeing some involvement of the commission.
Yeah. Okay. That moves us to the new business items that we have this evening, and there's several of them that I think are going to require attention of the commission. The first is the election of chair and vice chair for 2022 through 2023. The chair and vice chair of the commission under our bylaws are elected by the commission. They are not selected by the mayor. Commissioners are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council, but the officers of the board, which consist of a chair and vice chair, are the prerogative of the commission. And we hold this vote each year. Ordinarily, we do it in June, but we didn't have a meeting in June, so this is held over to our September meeting. I am currently serving as the chair of the commission, and Edith Knight is serving as the vice chair of the commission. Edith has told me she is willing to continue to serve in that capacity, and I'm willing to continue to serve in the capacity as chair. However, if there are other individuals who wish to serve in that manner, I'll be very happy to leave the room or put myself use one of these technologies to disappear for a short period. And Edith, as I mentioned earlier, can't join us tonight because of illness. So what is the will of the commission?
I would like to re-elect you, Mike, as chair.
I agree. You're not that lucky, Mike. We want you back.
Okay. How about with respect to the vice chair?
I would nominate her as well.
Okay, all right. So we've got a nomination both for chair and vice chair. Are there other nominations? Not hearing any. We can proceed to a vote on this. I'm just going to call for just a voice vote. The motion that's been made, Helen moved for the approval of Mace continuing to serve as chair. And Chuck moved to re-elect Edith Knight as vice chair. We'll take each one separately. Okay, those who support me continuing to serve as chair, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay. Any opposition, say no. Okay, the next vote will be on Edith Knight to be continued as vice chair. Those who are in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Okay, the minutes shall record that the commission has unanimously re-elected me as chair and Edith Knight as vice chair for the coming year. Thank the commission for its continued support. The next item on our agenda is the report and recommendations of the complaints committee, the complaint of Daniel Lopez. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Helen Leach, who's chair of the complaints committee, to tell us a little bit of what the complaints committee has done with this, what its recommendations are. And then also I would mention to the commission that I did send the commission all of the documentation that relates to this case. And specifically that included the following items. Turn to it here. One was the actual statement of the complaint by Daniel Lopez. The second was a letter which I sent to the respondent, which in this case was the owner of a local barbershop located in the city of Annapolis. 3, correspondence from the lawyers for the respondent, that being the owner of the barbershop. And then finally, a field case report about this incident from the Annapolis Police Department. And I hope everyone had a chance to review those documents. Helen, I'm going to ask if you could report to the full commission what transpired in our conversations on the complaints committee and what the recommendation of the commission is as per your judgment.
I just want to make sure everybody's had a chance to read the packet that Mike is referring to. Has everybody been through all that? I guess you have. Okay. What happened with us was that we concluded, since he did not want to mediate, and probably the other party would not have mediated anyway. And that there was no obvious discrimination, so that we could refer him to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Our advice was for him to possibly contact legal counsel, because the barber has filed assault charges against him. And I do think the last time I spoke with Mr. Lopez, he had spoken with an attorney. I'm not sure he had taken him on as his attorney, and I have not spoken with him since. I told him, we would let him know what happens after this meeting. This is our recommendation, but we're certainly open to anybody else who might have questions about that.
What do you
Anybody?
have? Yeah, let me just ask, are there any questions that members of the commission have? Or for that matter, anybody who is on the call, including Ms. Berger, who is our staff attorney who represents the commission and is assigned to the commission. I would just,
The only thing that, well, real quickly, I didn't receive
Yeah,
any of
sure,
that packet, so I don't have any information related to the complaint, so I can't really advise on that because I'm not familiar, but the only thing that I will say is in terms of making recommendations, I wouldn't necessarily want to make a recommendation that someone does not have a complaint of discrimination. I would always give someone the opportunity or the avenues to seek out the MCCR, or if it's an EEOC, so that they can pursue that option if they so choose, and allow the MCCR or the EEOC to do their thing and make a determination on their own. I wouldn't want to have someone who's making a complaint of discrimination perceive that they're being told that there was no discrimination and that they can't pursue those avenues.
I
We
kind of
agree.
agree.
yeah, I mean, here's the.
That hasn't happened. I think, Helen has handled it correctly.
I'm sorry, I didn't intend to make it seem like she had, and I maybe misunderstood. I thought that there was a comment that there was no obvious discrimination, so that it wasn't referred to the MCCR. So it was just, maybe I misunderstood that or misheard that. So I was sort of responding in that sense.
Yeah, looking at.
I get it.
Looking at the city code. The city code, in cases involving public accommodations, limit the commission's authority to two areas. One, the commission can seek mediation. But in order for mediation to occur, both parties have to accept it. And in this case, the complainant did not accept it, and it's almost certain, I agree with Helen, that the respondent would not either. The other step that the commission could take would be to refer the complaint to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and which has considerable more authority in discrimination areas than this commission does. The challenge here is that nowhere in the documentation that the commission received does the complainant, Daniel Lopez, provide any evidence that the altercation that he had with the owner of the barbershop, based on any of the protected classifications. He did not assert, or he did not provide evidence that he'd been discriminated against. And the attorneys to the barbershop, I'm just going to look at and actually read right off of the letter that was provided. Okay, this is the lawyer writing from Brady, Fischel, and Daly. What I can say for the moment is that both Mr. Burdas and Burdakakis Barbershop absolutely and unequivocally deny the allegations set forth in the chairman's correspondence, to wit, that Mr. Lopez was the victim of discrimination in public accommodations on the basis of race, ethnicity, and national origin. And again, I say that I did not make that charge in my letter to them. I simply noted that the complainant could provide evidence that he had been discriminated against on that basis, and that would be grounds for us to refer it to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. But as I mentioned, we have not, there's nothing in the complaint itself from Mr. Lopez that he offers any such evidence. And there is also nothing in the report from the Annapolis Police Department about that as well. So what the circumstances are here is that there's little that the commission can do in this specific situation. To refer it to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, I think the same thing would happen there. They would look at the statements and say, well, where's the evidence that he'd been discriminated against because of race, ethnicity? And there is nothing on the record. So that's my perspective on it.
My perspective is that when they were having their altercation, is that the barber just spoke some words that would you would consider discrimination, but probably they aren't really down here that much. I probably got them mostly from talking to Mr. Lopez. I mean, he was accusing him of being poor and other, things like that. So I don't know if you could consider that actually discrimination, but that's why I questioned Mike about it.
Carrie, could you offer some thoughts about this? Specifically how as to how, what you think the commission should do given its authority in the city code and the nature of the complaints.
So I think you articulated it accurately. Keep in mind with this specific complaint, I don't have any of the information relating to it in front of me.
No, and I didn't. I only sent it to the commissioners.
Yeah, so I'm speaking from kind of like a general standpoint. If the commission decides that through its investigation that it did not deem any of the conduct to be discriminatory in nature, the advice that I was probably not articulating well was to allow them to continue to pursue the avenue of the MCCR or the EEOC if they feel like their discrimination had occurred, despite the lack of evidence before you guys. I wouldn't want them to feel like that option is foreclosed to them in the future. So that was sort of the basis of the advice that I gave. But you hit the nail on the head in terms of the commission's authority per the code. It's a little bit more, you have a little bit more authority when it comes to a fair housing type of complaint, but the complaint that you guys were facing here, you are sort of restricted to two options here, which is, to investigate it and make a determination. And, you have other options related to policy and stuff like that, but in an investigation itself, it's a fairly limited role.
Well, what the commission could do, and I think this encompasses both what you've said, Carrie, and what Helen is saying, is that we can send, or I could send a letter from the commission to Daniel Lopez, pointing out that there is nothing in the city code that gives us the authority to intervene in this case. However, if he should so wish to take the complaint to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, that he could do so. I'm not optimistic about what would happen at the Maryland Commission. They're going to also be looking for some very specific grounds for discrimination based on the protected categories, but we can certainly say that's an option for him. Are there any thoughts
Mike,
about
shouldn't
that?
we also just indicate we would welcome any additional evidence he has? I mean, I don't think we want to kind of shun him. We just ought to say we welcome any additional information, evidence he might have.
Sure, I could include that in the letter.
Yeah.
Okay, Helen, could you make a recommendation? Could you make a motion to the commission, which essentially encompasses what we've discussed, that, and this will be contained in a letter to Mr. Lopez, in which we say that the commission has exhausted its authority in this area. However, we would welcome any additional information or any additional evidence that he was a victim of discrimination based on one of the protected classifications, or he could feel free to take the complaint directly to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and I would provide him with the address for the commission. It's my feeling, and I think it's pretty much is that this thing is going to land in district court because the two sides are basically filing complaints against the other. But that's not our business specifically. Okay. Helen, does that summarize what you had articulated?
Yes, I think it does. Why don't we just go with that?
Okay. Chuck, are you happy with the addition?
Yes. Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, then.
Jay, what do you think?
No, I agree, or I concur with the
Okay.
proposal and recommendation.
Okay. All right. Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
I so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Helen. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Okay, all right. On this matter, I'm going to actually call the roll of the commissioners. Those who support proceeding in the manner which we've just discussed, say aye. If you're opposed to it, say no or abstain. And I'm just going to call the roll. Helen?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
Joshua? Joshua?
You're muted, Joshua.
I think he's saying aye, but we can't
Say aye,
hear him.
okay, all right.
Hear me now?
And Jay?
Aye.
Okay, and I vote aye. So the motion unanimously carries, and I will take responsibility for developing the letter to Mr. Lopez. The next item on our agenda is a requested reanalysis of traffic stop data provided by the Annapolis Police Department. This is an area that Joshua has been working on with respect to his involvement with the Caucus of African American Leaders here in the county, but he is anxious to involve the commission as well. Joshua, could you provide us with some background as to what this involves and entails, and what your experience has been in working with the Annapolis Police Department, including up to now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that you can hear me. All
We
right,
can.
so, and thank you for giving me this opportunity again. So, as a member of the Caucus of African American Leaders, a public safety committee was established, and I happen to chair that committee. And one of the agencies that we meet with on a quarterly basis is the Annapolis Police Department. We received a report, and give me a second, I'll pull up the actual report, that was dated July 16th, 2018, entitled Analysis of Annapolis Police Department Traffic Stop and Related Data. This is a thorough report where a retired sergeant from the Baltimore County Police Department, whose responsibility in that jurisdiction was data analysis, conducted a separate analysis of the Annapolis Police Department, looked at the traffic stops, looked at the policies and procedures of the department, and constructed a report. And there was some issues inside the report that that suggested that there were potential constitutional and civil rights violations, ineffective senior APD management, and ineffective APD operations policies and procedures that moved us to have a meeting with the mayor. At this particular meeting, I believe it was the deputy chief that was present, Director McCoy from the Annapolis Police Department, the mayor, myself, and several members of the Public Safety Committee. This report was discussed. One of the things that came out of the meeting, I won't bore you with the details of bit by bit of the meeting, but one of the things that came out of the meeting was that the Annapolis Police Department, under the leadership of Chief Jackson, was willing to reanalyze the data. There were questions about how the report was actually constructed from their purview, and to resolve the issue or the question in the community's mind as to where the police department stands at this particular present juncture, seeing that it's been shifted through management since then, was that Director McCoy opened the invitation with the blessings of the chief to reanalyze that data. And we were to have a follow-up meeting to talk about the logistics of how that would take place. Since then, I've had an opportunity to meet with Director McCoy, and being a new sworn-in member of the Human Relations Commission, I thought that it would be appropriate to involve the Human Relations Commission on this project for those who were willing to participate, as well as other leaders within the community. During this meeting that I had with Director McCoy, as a follow-up, I learned that this would not be an overnight project. This project would require time, it would require reading, it would require participation. And so my instructions were to come up with a list of individuals who were willing to participate in this project, including members of the Human Relations Commission if they so choose. And then we would set up an in-person or virtual meeting to discuss exactly, step by step, what a reanalysis would include, actually what a data analysis really is, what it would include in the work that the commission or members of this working group would be required to do. And so I reached out to you, Commissioner Keller, to give you information on what was going on. But I really think that this is an opportunity to build up the commission's activity, one, but two, for us to get a clear understanding of how a data analysis performed and where we really stand at present day with the police department and the community. Traffic stops is something that has always been pointed to as, gateways for violations, civil rights violations. And we want to ensure that this is not happening in Annapolis City. And I think that it's a great opportunity for us to participate. The caucus is going to participate in this working group, and I'm hoping that the commission will be willing, or members of the commission will be willing to do so as well.
What I'd like to do, Joshua, with your support, is to forward the message which you sent, which describes the activities you've gone through on this and your efforts with Director McCoy. I'd like to forward it to all members of the commission to invite them to express interest in taking part in this and see how many volunteers we get from the commission itself. I can assure you that you will have volunteers to help with this. But what I'd like to do is to give everyone a chance to volunteer to work with you on this. This is an extremely important issue that goes back quite a number of years. I can remember back in Ellen Moyer's administration when the commission sent a request to the then chief of police, I forget who it was at the time, seeking this information. And my recollection was that the mayor was not highly supportive of our endeavor at that time. But the political tides have changed. And I think that there'll be much more receptivity on the part of the elected officials in the city, as well as the Annapolis Police Department. So that's why I haven't responded directly to your message. I'd like to have an opportunity to share it with the whole commission. Can I do that?
Absolutely. And I just would like to, again, I just want this on the record that Chief Jackson, Deputy Chief Bradford, Director McCoy, the mayor, I believe, based off of our meeting that we've had, all of them are very supportive. Chief Jackson has opened up the police department to the caucus on a number of occasions, has invited us down, done presentations. So they're willing to do this. And I think that it would also allow us to convey to the community on an outreach that we have been working with the police department, and that there are things that we're doing to ensure that the police department is correctly interacting with the community, and that times have changed and we're headed down a better road than we were before.
Okay, well, thank you for that report. And I'm going to be sending something to the commission about this within the next few days. Okay, the next item on the commission's agenda this evening is discussion of possible joint projects with the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County. And I'm going to ask the chair of the outreach committee, Chuck Hurley, to talk about this endeavor, because I know he's taken it up with Eugene Peterson, who is the chair of the County Human Relations Commission. Chuck, could you give us some detail on this?
Sure. Thanks, Mike. You and I have talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah.
And all of us, I think, will remember that County Executive Pittman convened a forum on, not sure the exact title, was it a forum on hate events maybe 2 years ago? I think it was in March of 2020. COVID, unfortunately, did not allow that to be fully pursued, but it was an excellent forum. Mike, you were one of the panelists I know that presented, and a number of other community leaders as well. And we at that time had talked about maybe we should have hearings in the different automatic different districts in the city to try to explore and discuss the issues of hate events. The thing that triggered my recent activity in this area was the defamation of a number of churches and synagogues, particularly the one of Bishop Antonio Palmer and the Kingdom Celebration Center in Odenton about 2 months ago, where their door was defaced with a racist slur, and there was the bishop and his wife invited members of the community to come, and I working some with the caucus of African American leaders, we tried to get some white folks there, because this should be an outrage to everybody, and it was. And then I talked with Mike about, given the fact that and I may not have the data exactly right, Mike, but my understanding is there have been 9 such events in the recent months of defacing of churches and synagogues, particularly Black churches, but also synagogues with racist slurs. And I assume some of them at least would have been just stupid kids doing stuff, but we simply can't tolerate that. I mean, I very much support what Joshua was talking about in terms of review of the police data. We need to make certain that Annapolis remains an island that is hate-free, and we shouldn't tolerate anything like that. And with Mike's approval, I then I should also mention the County Human Relations Commission convened a forum probably 6 weeks ago on critical race theory. It was at the library here in Annapolis, the Bush Library, and it was very well done. Obviously, there are those in the community that want to portray the activity of teachers in the Anne Arundel public school system of teaching critical race theory. I mean, that's just, it's not true. It's a law school course that is, I don't find it offensive. It's a way of viewing the historic systematic racism that we all know exists, but it's not being taught in our school system. But it's a way just of stirring the pot on some of these hate issues. And so with Mike's permission, I went and met again with Eugene Peterson. He and I have been friends for a long time, working on highway safety issues. He was a senior member of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I was active in that area. So, and he welcomes any activity of a joint nature with us. I believe he was going to ask at his next meeting for volunteers of the Anne Arundel Human Relations Commission to join appointees that you might make, Mike, or appointees, selection of interested members to have a small group of people who would explore what we can do to continue the good work that the Eugene's commission did on the critical race theory forum. Other forums at the community level that would first listen and then address any issues of hate events or just other activities we should be concerned about. So that's where it stands. I think I would recommend that we do pursue joint activities with the County Human Relations Commission as a follow-on to Commissioner Pittman's, County Executive Pittman's initiative 2 years ago. And have an exploratory committee and report back to the commission with our findings.
Well, I recall that that Gene Peterson did respond to your suggestion that we do just that very, very positively. And he did say he was going to appoint some people, but I have not received any other communication from him or from Lakeisha, Lakeisha Hatcher, who is the representative from the county commission to this commission. So I haven't heard back from him except the email to you saying great idea. So I'm not real sure where this stands.
I can reconnect with him. I've been out of town for a while, but I can reconnect with him. And okay. I'm certain though that he would want to proceed with kind of a joint committee to explore sensible steps to reduce hatred at both the county and city level that we are all concerned about.
Okay, well, I think once we've got that commitment from him, specifically the names of people, once again, I'll survey the commission and see who would like to serve on that. I know you're interested in doing that, Chuck.
Yes.
But what I'd like to see is for Eugene and his folks to fulfill what they have told you and which was shared with me, and that is that at our next meeting we're going to have some volunteers to do this. And I'm not sure where that is. So if you could reconnect with him and say that we're ready to go on this, we just want to know that this is something that the county commission really wants to do.
Great. I'm out of sequence, but I would also volunteer to Joshua's initiative on review of the traffic stop data as another good step of dealing with these issues.
Okay, well, thank you.
I know I'll await your letter. I assume you're going to send stuff out, and then I'll reply.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to send an email to all of the commissioners, and I'm also going to use the opportunity to send commissioners the latest listing of commissioners. I've been sent that out recently, and give you an up-to-date listing of the names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses for all of the current serving members of the commission. And I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to send a note to folks saying that if they're interested in working on the issue of the reanalysis of the traffic stop data, to directly contact Joshua about it. And then once you from Eugene, I can do the same with respect to what I would call the joint projects enterprise that we would be involved with the county commission on. Okay, we have one other final item for the agenda tonight, and that I'm going to call on Jerry if she has anything that she would like to say about the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Jerry, I know you had said to me in an email message that you didn't actually have a specific report, but I just want to give you an opportunity to share with the commission any thoughts you have about the works of the working of the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. This commission does work pretty extensively with the Maryland Commission. You just heard in our discussion tonight of the complaint that we had, and there've been other presentations that have been made by individuals in the education and outreach area to the commission, and we've always allowed those to be a major part of our meeting agendas. So again, welcome to the commission. But is there anything you'd like to share with commissioners?
Thank you. And no, just, I mean, if there's anything that I can do to support in this capacity, please let me know. I think my email is on your thread. If not, I can send something that you guys can send around. But I mean, you've covered all the bases. Education outreach is something that we're very big on. So if there's any opportunities that you think we could, plug in and share information, we wouldn't mind doing that. So I don't really have anything, but I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay,
By the
well, thank
way, you had a beautiful gala event at the Maryland Live Casino, the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and your guest speaker, Dr. Francis Berry, was very inspiring.
Thank you. You were there? Oh, I'm so
Yes,
glad.
I was.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, it was a great evening.
But what was that event again?
It was our annual gala, basically, our biannual gala.
Okay, your annual gala. And that was at the
Maryland Live Casino.
okay, Maryland Live Casino. Okay, we'll capture that in a minute. Okay, is there any other business to be brought before the Human Relations Commission this evening? Any additional business?
Can I just say
Helen.
something?
Yeah, sure, Helen.
I didn't say this earlier, but with my conversations with Mr. Lopez, I just want the commission to know that he said that we are the only people that responded to him in his awful frustration and outrage. And
Good.
I felt so badly for him. I grew up in this town too. I know what he's talking about. And I just wanted everybody to know that we're the only people that responded to him, and he very much appreciated it. So.
Well,
Thank
good
you
that
for
we
sharing.
responded, not good that others didn't.
I know. I agree. Yeah. And I had a number of conversations with him, and it's very hard for me to hide my feelings when it comes to things like this. I'm probably not the person that he should have been talking to, but I mean, he knew that my empathy was there with him, so.
Now, you've done a great job, not
Not
only with
really,
this,
but-
well, yes, you have, with not only with this complaint, but for all the other complaints you've handled over the years. You've done a terrific job, and some of these complaints are
I'm not really
really,
sure I'm the person that should be doing this because
well,
I'm not a real objective about it.
yeah.
Anyway.
That's to your credit.
Okay, but no, thank you for reminding the commission of that, Helen. I'm going to capture that in the minutes because, as you say, that he definitely did say that. You know, he went to all kinds of different sources, but we're the only city body or individual who even responded to his complaint. But that's one thing we do. If we get a complaint, it comes directly to the Office of Human Resources, and our liaison, Judge Barber, passes that on to me, and then I in turn share it with Helen, and then we convene the complaints committee and bring a recommendation to the commission. And our bylaws state that all of this has to occur within 30 days. This is not a matter in which we say, you know, we'll be back to you in a few months. Not the bylaws, but the complaints procedures of the commission specify that that these matters have to be handled within 30 days. And so we move on these very, very quickly. It's probably one of the most single important things that we have in the city code. Okay, if there's no other items of business tonight, I'm glad to say that we seem to have escaped the storm. Nobody was lost because of electricity. I hear it booming out there, but we did make it through. And we're going to. Is there any objection to adjourning the meeting at this time?
No.
Hearing none, the meeting is hereby adjourned by